Dear students, welcome to my channel. In our operating system tutorial series, today we will discuss non-preemptive and preemptive SJA. That means shortest job next. Okay, so we will do the examples of shortest job next algorithm. Okay, this is a very important. In your semester examination, you will definitely get a single problem from this CPU scheduling problem. Okay. So myself Niladri Shekhar Pal, I am working as an assistant professor at Greater Kolkata College of Engineering and Management at Computer Science and Engineering Department. So let's start. So what is process scheduling? Basically, process scheduling is an essential part of a multi-programming operating system. Okay, so as we know that in multi-programming operating system there are many processes execute simultaneously. Okay, so to check which process will run first or which process will next. Okay, so there must be a scheduling. Okay, or a routine to check which process will run when. Okay, so that is why we need a process scheduling algorithm. Okay, so as you know, such operating system allows more than one process to be loaded into the executable memory at a time, and loaded process share the CPU using time multiplexing. Okay, the process scheduling is the activity of the process manager that handles the removal of the running process from the CPU and the selection of another process on the basis of a particular strategy. So what are the different process scheduling queues? The operating system maintains the following important process scheduling queues. Number one is job queues. As you know, the programs resides in the secondary memory. When we want to run any program, this came from secondary memory to the main memory, and we have a limited space in main memory. Okay, so all the program at first stayed at the secondary memory. So this is the job queue. Okay, so this is the job queue. Okay, where all the program at first stayed or queued. Okay, next one is ready queue. So ready queue means that all the programs which are in secondary memory already came to the primary memory, okay, or RAM, and waiting for the CPU to execute that process. So as in job queue, where the process resides, all the process resides in the secondary memory to wait and waited for to go to the primary memory. Okay, and in the ready queue means all the programs stayed at main memory and waited for executing of the CPU. It waits at the primary memory for to execute the CPU. Next one is device queue. Suppose when a program is executing, okay, it needs some input output devices like printer or scanner, and there is already another process, okay, which are using the input output device. So that process, okay, go to the device queue option. Okay, so that process goes to the device queue. Okay, so it will wait there, okay, to until the input output device become free. So this is device queue. The process which are blocked due to unavailability of an IO device constitute the queue. Okay, so those are not get access of the input output device will stay at the device queues. Okay, so next check, this is the pictorial representation. Okay, so these are the job queue. Okay, job queue means all the jobs are waited in the secondary memory to execute. Okay, so at first these job queues go to the ready queue. In the ready queue also the process waits for the CPU to execute. Okay, and this is the input output waiting queue. Okay, so this is input output waiting queue means the all the process waited here to get the access of IO, that is input output device. Input output device may be printer, scanner, anything. Okay. So at first all the process waited at the job queue, that means at the secondary memory, then it comes to the ready queue. Ready queue means it comes to the main memory and waited for CPU to execute this program. Okay, and this is IO waiting queue. IO waiting queue means all the processes waited here to get access of the input output devices. Next, what are the purpose of scheduling algorithm? Number one purpose is maximum CPU utilization. Okay, so that we have to schedule all the processes in a way such way that the maximum CPU utilization is possible. Next one is fair allocation of CPU. Okay, so we have to schedule the process in such a way that the CPU is always become busy. Next is maximum throughput. Next one is maximum turnaround time. Turnaround time means completion time minus arrival time. Okay, so the process, the completion time means when the process completely executes, and what is the arrival time? Arrival time when the process came to the main memory. So turnaround time is difference between completion time and arrival time. We will always try to check or to maintain that whether turnaround time become less. Next one is minimum waiting time. We will always look into this matter efficiently whether that all the process will take minimum waiting time. Next one is minimum response time. Okay. So this is the minimum response time. Okay. So we will first check whether that there is a minimum response time. Next, various time related to the process. Basically, there are a few important parameters, okay, of a process CPU scheduling. Okay. So first one is ready. Next one is run state, and the third one is completed state. As we have seen earlier in our previous slide, that a process can be in ready state, can be in run state, or in completed state. Okay. So in ready means we have already know the arrival time. So the process has already arrived. So it is in ready state. And the process is completed. So we will get the completion time. Okay. So using these two functions, we will calculate waiting time. Okay. So the waiting time is when it starts run. Okay. And when it comes or it arrives, the difference between these two parameters. So when it starts run minus when it came. This is the waiting time. Okay, and what is the burst time? Burst time means what are the time it takes to execute. Okay, so here in this unit time it started to execute, and this unit time it completed execution. So this is the burst time. Okay. So what is arrival time? The time at which the process enters into the ready queue is called the arrival time. Okay. So in this picture, when this process came here, it is in the arrival time. Okay. Next, burst time. The total amount of time required by the CPU to execute the whole process is called the burst time. Okay. So this does not include the waiting time. It is the time taken from run to completion. It is confusing to calculate the execution time for a process even before executing it. Hence, the scheduling problem based on the burst time cannot be implemented in reality. Next, what is turnaround time? The total amount of time spent by the process from its arrival to its completion is called the turnaround time. Okay. Next is waiting time. The total amount of time for which the process waits for the CPU to be assigned is called as the waiting time. Next one is response time. This is basically the difference between the arrival time and the time at which the process first gets the CPU is called response time. So there are two types of algorithm. One is non-preemptive algorithm and another one is preemptive algorithm. So what is non-preemptive algorithm? Suppose a process gets start to execution. Okay, so the process will go outside the main memory after its completion. Okay, so CPU will leave that process after it completed its execution. This condition is called non-preemptive condition. So when a process came to the secondary memory, to the main memory and started its execution, it will first complete its execution, and after complete execution, it will exit from the main memory. This is the non-preemptive algorithm. And what is preemptive algorithm? In preemptive algorithm is totally different of non-preemptive algorithm. In case of preemptive algorithm, CPU can leave the track or the control of the process for a limited period of time. Suppose there are two processes, P1 and P2, and P1 start executed. Okay, so P1 will take suppose 10 minutes or 10 microseconds to execute. Suppose after 2 microseconds, the control transfer from P1 to P2, and and P2 will execute for 3 to 4 seconds out of 12 microseconds. Okay, so after P2 again P1 came to the main memory for execution of the CPU. Okay, so these conditions are called preemptive algorithm or preemptive condition. Okay, so now we'll do a what is shortest job next. Okay, this is basically also called shortest job first help. Okay, so there are a pool of multiple processes. We will execute those processes which will require shortest period of time. Okay, so shortest period of time means whose burst time is limited or minimum. We will execute that process first. So this is also known as shortest job first. This is can be preemptive or non-preemptive. Okay, so it is implementation is very much easy, and it is impossible to implement in interactive system while required CPU time is not known. The processor should know in advance how much time process will take. And what are the advantages of shortest job next? Shortest jobs are favored. Basically, the process or the jobs which require less time will be executed fast. Okay, so it is probably optimal in that it gives the minimum average waiting time for a given set of processes. And what are the disadvantages of shortest job next? SJF may cause starvation. What is starvation? If shorter processes keep coming, this problem is resolved by aging. It cannot be implemented at the level of short-term CPU scheduling. Okay. Now we'll do an algorithm of shortest job. The first step is this algorithm is associates with each process the length of the processor's next CPU burst. Okay. When the CPU is available, it is assigned to the process that has the smallest next CPU burst. So we will check which is requires the smallest time. Next, if the next CPU burst of two processes are the same, okay, it may be possible that the burst time of two processes are same. Then we will apply first come scheduling algorithm. So SGF can be either preemptive. Let's start an example of SGF scheduling. We will first do non-preemptive scheduling algorithm. Okay. So as you can see, there are four processes P1, P2, P3, and P4, and these are the burst time. Okay. So there is no arrival time. Okay. So we'll assume it as 0. Okay. For all the cases. For all the cases, arrival time is 0. Okay. So as you can see, P3 took less amount of time to execute. That means burst time is minimum for P3. So P3 will execute first. Okay. So this is the next chart. Okay. So P3 will execute first. So P3 will start at 0 and continue for 4 microseconds and will go up to 4. After this is completed, so after this P1 will execute. So P1 will execute for 6 microseconds. Okay, so P1 will end at 10. So P1 will complete. Next P2 will be less. So P2 will execute for 7 microseconds and completed at 17. After that P4 will execute for 9 microseconds and will complete it at 26. Now we will find out the arrival time of P1, P2, P3 and P4. Arrival time is the formula of, okay, so waiting time is for P1 is, so P1 started at 4 and came at 0. So arrival time for P1 is 4. For P2 started at 10. So waiting time of P2 will be 10 minus 0, that is 10. And for P3 started at 0 and came at 0. Okay. So P3 will execute, started at 0 and it came at 0. So waiting time of P3 will be 0 minus 0, 0. And for P4 started at 17 and came at 0. So 17 minus 0 is 17. So average waiting time will be 4 plus 10 plus 0 plus 17. We have to add these 4 values. Okay. So the result will be 7.75. Next we will find out the turnaround time. Okay. So turnaround time means completion time minus arrival time. So P1 completed at 10. So 10 minus 0 is 10. And for P2 17 minus 0, which is 17. For P3 4 minus 0, that is 4. And for P4 26 minus 0, that is 26. Okay. So average turnaround time will be summation of these 4 divided by 4. So the result is 14.25. Okay. So before showing an example of preemptive scheduling algorithm, you can see that when P3 has started, it completed its task. Okay, so no such processes came to P3. Okay, before it completed its task. So this is the funda of non-preemptive. But next we will show you an example of preemptive scheduling algorithm. In case of preemptive scheduling algorithm, you can see that there will be the process transfer before completion of process. So let's do an example. Okay. So this is the process preemptive problem. Okay, preemptive CPU scheduling problem. So there are 4 processes P1, P2, P3 and 4 and arrival time and burst time are given. Okay, so first draw the net chart. So P1 will execute first, okay, and P1 will execute up to as P1 came at 0th time, okay. So in this time there is no such processes, only P1 is there. So it will execute up to this one. Why one? Because we have to execute the previous process until when the next process came. Okay. So after any process came, we have to check which one is the shortest job. Okay. So that process will execute. So at 0th time we have a single process, that is P1. Okay. So P1 will execute for 1. Okay. So this 8 become 7. So now we have two processes, P1 and P2. Okay. So P1 will take 7 and P2 4. So P2 is less. So P2 will execute up to 2. So this will become 3. So now we have three processes, P1, P2 and P3. P1 will take 7, P2 will take 3 and P3 will take 9. Again P2 is smaller. Okay, so P2 will execute up to this time. Okay, so P2 will, so now we have 4 processes. Okay, so it become from 3 to, just wait. Okay, so at first it become 3, after that it become 2. Okay, so now we have 4 processes, P1, P2, P3 and P4. P1 is 7, P2 required 2, P3 required 9 and P4 5. Okay, so P2 will execute completely. So it will become 0. So P2 will execute continuous 4. Okay, so continuous 4. So it will end at 5. After that P2 is completed. So we have three processes. P1 requires 7, P3 requires 9 and P4 requires 5. So P4 will execute next. So P4 will execute for 5. Okay, so P4 completed. Next P1 will execute. P1 will go for 7. So it will end at 7. And after that P3 will execute. Okay, so 26. So in preemptive scheduling algorithm, you can see that P1 has did not he has started here, but it did not completed. After before completion of P1, P2, P4 already executed. Okay, so this is the funda preemptive scheduling algorithm. Next, we will find out the waiting time for P1, P2, P3, and P4. So, what is the waiting time for P1? So, the formula of waiting time is total waiting time minus number of seconds executed minus arrival time. Okay, so to finding out the waiting time for any process, we have to check that which one is the last block of that process. In case of P1, there are two blocks. One is this and another one is this. Okay, so the last one is this one. So what is the starting point of this block? This is 10. So this is the total waiting time. Okay. So total waiting time is 10 and number of microseconds executed. So before this 1 microsecond has been executed by P1. Okay. And the arrival time, as you know, this all are given. So in case of P1, total waiting time will be 10 minus 1 minus 0. So 10 minus 1 minus 0, that is 9 microsecond. And for P2 have only one block. So P2 starting of that block is 1. So 1, and before that P2 will never executed and arrival time of P2 is 1. So 1 minus 0 minus 1, that is 0 microsecond. Next one is for P3. P3 has also a single block and the starting of that block is 17 and P3 has never executed before and P3 has arrived at 2. So waiting time for P3 will be 7 minus 0 minus 2, that is 15 microsecond. And what is for P4? P4 last executed at this time. Okay, started. Oh, that is a single block for P4. There is no previous block. So 5 minus 0 and arrival is 3. So that is 5 minus 3, that is 2. So the average time will be summation of this 4 divided by 4. So 9 plus 15 plus 2, that is 6.5 microsecond. So this is the preemptive SJF or SJ. So let's do another. Okay, find out the turnaround time. Okay, so turnaround time formula is completion time minus arrival time. Okay, so completion time is for P1 is 17 minus arrival is 0. So 17 minus completion time. Okay, there is a mistake. Okay, I've checked it. Turnaround time for P1 is 17 minus 0. Okay, next turnaround time for P2 is completion time minus arrival time. Next turnaround time for P3 is 26 minus arrival time 24. Okay, and another again turnaround time for P4 is completion time minus arrival time. So 10 minus 3 is 7 microseconds. So the average turnaround time will be summation of these four divided by 4. So 13 microseconds. So this is the SJ turnaround time. Okay. Next we will do another example. Okay. So there are 4 processes, arrival time and burst time are given. So draw the net chart. So P1 will execute first. Okay. So how many time? For 1 time. Okay. So now we have only one process. So if it run for 1, it will become 20. Okay, so it runs 1. Next we have two processes P1 and P2. P1 requires 20 and P2 requires 3. So P2 will execute for how many times? For 2. Okay. So this is 1. It becomes 2. Okay. So now we have 3 processes. P1 required 20, P2 required 2 and P3 required 6. Okay. So it will again run another second. So it becomes 1. So now we have 4 processes P1, P2, P3 and P4. P1 required 20, P2 required 1, P3 required 6 and P4 required 2. Okay. So P1, as we can see that P2 will execute again. So it becomes 0. So P2 will execute it continuously for its 3 microseconds. Okay. So P2 has completed. Next, the list is P4. So P4 will execute for 2. So P4 completed. Next, it will execute P3 as P3 is 6. Okay. So after that, P1 will execute. Okay. So within 32, all the process will be executed. So next, find out the waiting time for P1. Okay. So the formula of waiting time is total waiting time minus number of microseconds you executed and minus number of arrival time. So in case of P1, there are two blocks. One is here and another one is here. So total waiting time is this one. So the last block is P1 is this one and the starting of this block is 12. Okay. So 12 minus how many times it executed? It has executed 1 microsecond. So 12 minus 1 minus arrival time. Okay, 12 microsecond. And in case of P2, there is only one block. So starting is 1. There is no such execution before this and arrival is 1. So 1 minus 0 minus 1, that is 1 microsecond. And for P3 there is also only single block and starting of single block is 6. No such execution before this, so 6 minus 0 and arrival is 2. So 6 microsecond. It will be, sorry, there is a mistake, it is 6 minus 0 minus 2. Okay.